Good morning. I hope everybody's having a really good day today. I'm working on trying to catch up on some UFOs today, and I had this little I don't know, it's almost a crib size, but not really a baby quilt. It's bigger, and I've got this top that I made. I think I made this last year. Might be something about it on my blog. Might even have been 2 years ago. But today I've decided it's time to finish it up, get it quilted, and it's going to be a tablecloth quilt for my big table in my kitchen. Kind of a little country, these fabrics remind you so much of retro Depression era fabrics. There's even some juvenile fabrics in there, just cute fabrics and very soft and gentle colors. And I have several UFOs, and I'm thinking it's time to get this UFO situation around here tamed down. And so I just got into my scraps. I had so many, and I remember making this top and just making up as many 9-patch blocks as I could. And I think they are 6-inch blocks finished. They're not very big. And then I used a little cream colored tiny print for the off squares. This red I'm pointing is going to be the backing. And I'm going to put a little narrow border around it, and I'm going to use this green for that. And got my batting dug out. I've got all my math done, so I've got it figured out what I need. And I think I'm going to have fun today finishing this little quilt up, and I'm going to take you along with me. And maybe someday I can do some more declutter videos. I promise I will do that and finish the declutter challenge. I get sidetracked pretty easy because I see these things that need done, and I know that I have a particular day, here and there, that I have nothing else going on, and that if I went to work on something, I could finish it. So sometimes my declutter challenge kind of has to take a seat on the shelf for a little while, but I promise I will be doing more declutter videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great day today too, watching. And it'd be great if you'd make one and make a little tabletop quilt and send me a picture and show me. I don't always pre-wash my fabrics, but I did this time because I knew that all the scraps I had used in my little quilt were pre-washed fabrics, so I went ahead and pre-washed the backing and this piece that I picked for the borders. And I also pre-washed the binding. I decided I didn't want the borders to be too wide. Just something to frame the patchwork. So I think I made these 3 inches and they finished at 2.5. I laid all the borders out around the quilt to try to make a decision about whether I wanted to join them and have one big long piece of fabric and just go around the quilt, or if I wanted to, join them 2 pieces per side so that I had enough to make a decision on whether I wanted to miter the corners or not. And I did decide to go ahead and join the strips that I cut for the border so that I had plenty of border fabric and could decide what I wanted to do. And you'll see here that I'm using the marking right there on my slide-on table to do a crosswise seam to join the pieces of border fabric. I chain pieced these sections. I did trim and press these also. Then I added them to the 4 sides of the quilt. Just found the centers, pinned them end to end, being careful not to stretch anything. I have the lights off on my machine right now so that you can see better. When I put borders on quilts that have patchwork that goes to the edge, I always stitch from the quilt side so that I can see where the seams come together and I don't sew too close to the points and ruin the point on the right side of the quilt. So you just sew right through where the seams come together, or just a little bit to the outside of them, and you'll always have beautiful points. On the backing, when I started measuring that out, I realized I didn't have quite enough backing for the size of the quilt that I ended up with. So I decided I would do a little design element on the backing of the quilt, and I often do something like this on the back of the quilt. If I have leftover blocks and I have enough of them, I might put a row of blocks down the back, or some embroidery, something. I love doing something special to the back of the quilt. So I cut 3 pieces. I was 10 inches shy of being wide enough for this quilt. So I cut 3 pieces that were a little over 5 inches. And I sewed them into the back of the quilt, the backing fabric, so that they were evenly spaced apart. One down the center and one down the middle of each side of center. And when I was finished, I had a really cute backing. And I went ahead and used the same yellow print or yellow fabric to make my quilt label from, and you'll see it later on in the video. There's my backing and my quilt top, and I have them folded so that what you see there in the upper right hand corner is the center point of the backing and the quilt. So I have them lined right up there, and I'm just trimming some overhang off from the backing so that it isn't in the way when I start sandwiching the quilt and go ahead and quilt it. But this is how I find the center on my quilt top and my quilt backing and my batting every time I sandwich a quilt. This batting is from Missouri Star. It's called Quilter's Best, and it is the nicest batting I have found in a long time. I'll get it unfolded and opened out and fold it like I did the quilt and the backing and find the center point. Once I get that, I mark the centers of all 3 pieces and go ahead and sandwich my quilt. Then I sit at my table comfortably and I use the Quilter's curved safety pins, and I pin baste. Sometimes I use my stitch regulator foot and baste on the machine. It depends on the size of the quilt. But this time I'm going to pin baste. So I'm making sure everything is nice and smooth. And when I need to move on up the quilt, I'll just fold it over, smooth everything out, and I can feel all the way to my tabletop, so I know there are no wrinkles, nothing's in the way. When I get down a little farther, I'll fold the quilt over again until I get to the other end. Just keep doing that till I get to the other end. And there's my quilt completely pin basted and ready to begin to get it ready to quilt it. And I'm going to quilt this on my machine using my embroidery module. I have printed off the two templates that I need, and I'm starting right down the center of the quilt. It's very important that you get this first column of quilting even, nice and straight, and I use my friction pen to make little registration marks down that column so that I keep my templates running straight. And after you get the first column done, it's kind of a no-brainer to go ahead and finish quilting each side, because you line up the starting and stopping points of your quilt design. So I get everything on my snap hoop. I'm using a magnetic snap hoop. Get it right where I want it. I have my template pinned on, and I'm going to drop my needle right down in the beginning spot, and then go ahead and place the top of my hoop, and then everything will be held in place. And my stitching will start at exactly the right spot. Just when I get everything perfectly aligned, I take the pins out and remove the template, because I'm going to use it over and over and over. And I'm going to check and make sure I don't have any of my basting safety pins in the way, and if I do, I'll take those out, remove all those so that I don't run over them. I have actually stitched one down to the quilt one time and didn't break a needle or anything. I just sewed the basting safety pin right to the top of the quilt. Had to take it out and do it over. So now we're ready to go. Everything looks nice and square, and I do use the numbers that are on the top of my hoop to make sure I'm lined up right. And my machine is saying, please tell me that you're using the correct presser foot and stitch plate. So I had to go in and highlight those and let my machine know that I have the right stuff going. And we'll go ahead and stitch now. There we go. I chose a design from Amelie Scott, and this is roses and vines and leaves, little country rose petals, and it looks really, really nice on this quilt. It's just perfect for the flavor of this quilt. And it takes a few minutes for each template to each section to stitch out, and you'll have several hoopings if you quilt this way. And nothing says that you have to start in the middle like I did here. Many times I've started on an edge and just quilted across. As long as you use your templates each time and you're sure that your design is staying straight. On the edges, or maybe at the top and bottom, you might have to do a partial design. but that's not a problem. You can see that on your screen. Here I'm embroidering the label and getting that ready, and then I will cut that out and hand stitch this to the back of my quilt, and then I'll quilt over the top of it. So it will be on the backing before I quilt that part of the quilt. I usually put it on the lower right hand corner. And there's my quilt, all quilted. And I'm ready to trim now, and I love hand stitching the binding down. I have sewn it by machine to the front, mitered all the corners, and then I love to just sit and hand stitch binding. One of my favorite things to do. I love any kind of handwork. And here's a look at the back and my label, and you can kind of see the quilting there a little bit, and you can see the 3 sections of yellow that I put in to make my to cheat a little bit, make my backing a little bit wider so I could make it work on this quilt. And it worked, so pretty good deal. Here's my finished quilt. I loved making this little quilt. It was a delight. And I hope you will enjoy making one too someday. I hope you do. And I hope you're having a great day today and that you enjoyed this video. And I will see you next time.